So welcome back from the break now. Time for us to bring you the big stories. But just before we do that, Bernice Abubaidulansai is here. Hi.
Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm blessed. How are you?
I'm fine. The boys?
Great. Good to be back on your sets this morning. And like my colleague Brace said, we are just about to delve into the big stories. The first one, of course, has to do with the base pay negotiations, which have now been agreed on. Remember yesterday we had that conversation with Michael Ashale, who's been on the beat for us on this particular one. And it was quite a stalemate at that point, but yesterday's meeting ended with both parties agreeing to a 30% increase. What does this mean? If you're a worker, how will it translate into what you take home? And there are questions surrounding the issue of productivity, concerns raised by the finance minister and the employment minister. How will that be addressed and ensured? We will have that conversation with our guests. Let me welcome Perpetual Oforia Ampofo, the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Good morning to you, ma'am. Thanks for joining the program.
Good morning to you, Bernice, and good morning, Samuel, and of course, good morning to all your listeners.
Great. So initially, like we heard in that story, 60% was what Labour was willing to compromise. I mean, we know where it started from, came down all the way to 60, and it was, it had gotten to the point where Labour said, we were not going to go beyond that. What led to that compromise of 30%?
Thank you very much. So every negotiation, you know that there would be some compromise along the way. So we started from 60, and we did not come to that 60% in a vacuum. We actually tabled a technical paper, a proposed paper to the government team, and set out the reasons or the justifications for the 60% that we were demanding. And some of them were the fact that we wanted to bridge the gap between the minimum wage and the base pay, which was hovering around 31.33%. And we also wanted us to look at the relativities on the single spine and all of that. So there was justification for the 60%. And therefore, if you have monitored the negotiations all the way, you realize that we only moved from the 60 to the 50, while the government team had moved about 4 times from the initial offer of 10%. So yesterday, we actually considered a whole lot of things. And having had the government team move from their 20% to a 25%, they were actually coming into the agreement zone, a middle point where it allowed us to actually also move down further. So in the caucus of organized labor and all of that, having discussed a whole lot of things, we moved to 35%. And we communicated that it became a lot of jojo. And finally, we ended at 30%. And I think that 30% being at least 50% of what we initially started with. And the fact that with that 30%, we are almost there in terms of bridging the gap between the minimum wage and the base pay. That is what gives us the comfort. And therefore, for us, we have monitored the sentiments of workers across the country between yesterday when the announcement was made and as of this morning. And I think our workers are happy. They know that 30% is not actually 30%. Once the COLA is taken off, the COLA per the agreement was to end December 2022, and that was 15%. If that COLA is taken off 50% and you are getting 30%, invariably it means you are receiving additional 15% as to what you were receiving last year. But all the same, workers are happy and they are comforted that organized labor has done a good job and look forward to more gains in the future. As at yesterday, The indications from the government team was that we should increase productivity and all of that and all those things. And we also indicated that we are ready to work with the government team on certain areas that we can comfortably work with. But in terms of productivity, a lot of things goes into productivity. And when I speak for my sector as the health sector, nurses, midwives, doctors, pharmacists, everybody in there understands very well. We run a shift. You go to work. There's no way you can go to work and say you take care of the patient or you take care of the client. We go to work, run our shift, and at the end of the day, we receive our pay.
Right.
But most importantly, we need certain things. And those things have to also be provided by the employer.
What are those things?
To facilitate our productivity.
What are those things?
So when you take us, for example, of course, you need, today, there are so many equipments that make nursing care easier, but we don't even have them. Look at the beds that we keep our patients on. If you have to hoist them in a certain angle, 90% or 90 degrees angle or 30 degrees, or put them in a certain position, you have to always do these things manually, lifting and doing this, using pillows to adjust and all of that. There are beds that can do this all just by the press of a button. We don't have these in our facility. You need trolleys that you are setting your things on, pushing it to the bed. Like most of these equipment have broken down. Your trays, your other things, with manometers that we use in even checking BP, simple thermometers. You go to some places, only one, and you are using it from patient to patient, and it's unhygienic. But these are some of the difficulties you find out. Medications, some medications that are needed, emergency ones, some are not available. So there are challenges. And if you want people to be more productive, you want to cut the issues of transfers from one end to the other and all of that. What it means is that you need more skilled health professionals at every level, not just at the national level or at the tertiary level. You need them at the regional level, at the district level, at the sub-district level, and all of that. And there are a lot of things that we need to build.
Okay, so just a quick one for you before I bring in our other guests. You say that you have monitored and your workers are happy with this 30% increase in the base pay. How exactly did you monitor and pick their reactions?
So it's all about the various platforms that we have. The various platforms where it's WhatsApp, it's Facebook, it's Telegram, and all of that. And they are happy with what we have been able to get for them.
Right.
But of course, if you are thinking of the current inflation and all, they know it could have been better. But of course, the difficulty of governments which they use, and in fact, those were the pleas they started with. And if we had not stood our ground, it could have been less than the 30%. And I don't think that we would have been even happy about that achievement. So having achieved at least 50% of what we started with, we are happy as leaders. And I hope that all workers will be happy about that. I hope this will also even translate into much better percentages for those of you in the private sector.
Let me bring in Deputy Secretary General of the TUC, Joshua. Sir, good morning to you, sir, and thanks for your time. Yesterday, we interacted with Labour consultant Austin Gami while these negotiations were ongoing, and he was concerned about government's posturing and suggested that government needed to be more open in these negotiations, explaining its difficulties, because he believed that Labour was not such an inconsiderate group of people. Let me just find out from you if that happened and what exactly convinced you to agree to this 30%.
Good morning to your listeners. My sister, all what I can say now is that by God's grace, we have reached an agreement and we have signed the agreement of 30% for workers of this very country. I think we have to appreciate whatever has happened and move on from there. There's no need celebrating and discussing and saying so many stuff that happened. We have actually gone through a hell in achieving that percentage. And I think that is all what I can say for now.
Right, Mr. Ansah, we had...
yes, please.
Hello?
Yes, I'm listening.
I'm saying that we had the finance minister say this will take a toll on the country's budget, and that's why I'm asking if you were given further details and if that in any way convinced you to accept this 30% instead of the 60 you were demanding.
Yes, madam, and I'm also saying that respectfully, I think we are all happy that we have been able to arrive at a conclusion on this agreement, and at the end of the month, workers will have something in their. And I think we should all appreciate what has happened and move on as a country and as workers of this very country.
Yeah, Mr. Hansa, we understand that, but
yes.
the premise is that, you know, in 2014, when similar situation was on hand, the government painted the health of the economy to you, organized labor. And when you saw the health of the economy, you agreed to compromise. That's why we want to find out from you whether, you know, the government painted the health of the economy to you and that made you compromise on your 60 to take 30.
Sister, I would still want to reiterate that respectfully, let's leave it there. Because whether there's the gloomy picture of the country or whatever, I think that we have managed to reach an agreement on this year's base pay. And let's move on from there, respectfully.
Okay. So leadership of the TUC, in interactions with my colleague who was on the ground to cover the story, said that it was not there for itself. It was there for the Ghanaian worker. Between the time the decision was taken or interacting with government, deciding that, okay, we would accept this 30%, how did organized labor reach out to the workers and what was their response? Was there any correspondence with them and based on that agreeing to government's 30%?
We've always been in touch with the grassroots. You see that this year's negotiation has been one of the toughest negotiations that we have had. And that means that we have to carry our people along whatever they think that will be. From day one, we carried our people along. That is why we have overwhelming support from all the workers of this very country. And that is the more reason why I'm saying that once we have reached an agreement, it means that we have all carried ourselves to a certain level which doesn't need any belated of any agreement or something of that sort. That's why I'm pleading with you and respectfully saying that once you have reached an agreement, we didn't leave anybody behind. We all supported the cause, and by God's grace, we have reached an agreement. So I think that we should leave it there and move on as a country and as workers of this very country.
Okay, so talking about moving on, the government says, look, once we've been able to do this, we're demanding more productivity from you. In fact, the employment minister used a word which may sound a bit interesting in the ears of many workers. He said reward. Is that how you see this? Is this a reward?
Reward for what? For our labor or something? This is we have sold our labor and we have been paid for our labor. Yes, we are receiving something in place of what we have also offered to this very country.
Right.
So whatever word that the minister used, that one is the choice of words.
But how does it make you feel? I mean, because exactly, you've worked and you deserve to get your pay. But he says that look, once we've given you this reward, we expect a certain level of productivity. How does that make you feel?
For me, I didn't want to take him serious about a reward because you were not there for reward. You were there to negotiate for our services that's being sold to the government or to the country. So that's what I'm saying. Depend on his choice of words.
Does it give you a sense? Does it give you a sense that?
Yeah.
He representing government may think that you don't deserve this, and that's why he's using the word reward and even linking it to productivity. In other words, you're not giving us enough for this, so we are giving you a reward, and we hope that this reward will inspire you to be more productive.
You see, in negotiations, we don't actually come out to say whatever word for word. What this man said, the minister said, the secretary general said, Joshua said, and so on and so forth. What we are interested in is, at the end of the day, whatever arguments, whatever words, whatever choices that was made, at the end of the day, we've been able to agree on something, and we have all agreed to it and signed. That's what I'm saying. We should move on from there because we have reached an agreement. Whatever I will not go in reverse, whatever will not add anything to whatever. So it's good for us to actually move on from here. Whether it's a reward or it's a pay or it's whatever, the good news is that at the end of the day, workers have achieved 30%, on top of their salary as a base pay. So that is the most important thing to ask, my sister.
We've heard the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association talk about the issues her sector has with productivity, which has to do with availability of resources. But from where you sit, what are the challenges you have with ensuring that organized labor and its members give their best in whatever capacities we find ourselves?
My sister, I think that as for productivity, we've always been productive. Ghanaian workers work very hard. It's only that our salaries are not enough. Doesn't compensate whatever you do. But I think that Ghanaian workers have done well in the development of this country by giving their best out. And we will continue to do that. We will continue to put out our best. We will continue to be productive so that at the end of the month, the development of this country will be a hallmark for all of us.
But are there any challenges? Sorry, Samuel. My colleague Samuel will come in shortly. But are there any challenges you have in terms of equipment, tools, support systems to encourage more productivity? Or this is the best the Ghanaian worker can give?
No, productivity hinges on several factors. We as workers will make our labor available. Government is supposed, or the employers are supposed to give us the necessary tools and necessary raw materials to work with. And when all these pillars are arrived at, I think we can all achieve the best out of whatever we want to do. So it behoves on workers, it behoves of employers, it behoves of government to create the enabling environment for us to do our best that we can for this very country. That's it.
But this whole issue about productivity, yes, as a worker, I can say I'm being productive, but there should be a measuring stick that you and the employer can agree on to say that if I achieve A, B, C, D, I'm being productive and therefore I deserve this. So isn't it time for us to look at that and to ensure that we are pegging the remuneration to productivity of workers?
Yeah, my brother, I think that we need a whole period to discuss the matter or the issue about productivity. I said this morning's conversation is about yesterday's base pay negotiation. So I will want to appeal and say that let's find time to discuss the work productivity itself. Then that is where all the ingredients that is needed can be discussed, and at the end of the day, we'll come out with a clear solution to the word productivity, what you can all put our best to ensure that productivity in Ghana is really achieved. So let's find time to discuss that, and don't let us link that one to yesterday's pay. I think that it will clear off the discussion we're going to have with the base pay. So let's concentrate on the base pay. Then at another time we can discuss productivity, so that we can all share our views on productivity in this country.
Well, Mr. Azar, we all agree that, yes, it's about the base pay, but the base pay is also linked to how productive you are, isn't it? And that's why the minister was even talking about it. And yesterday, when we spoke to Mr. Austin Game, he also mentioned that there should be that, measure of how productive we are. And then that is also linked to our remuneration. And therefore, the two are linked. These are not two different things. And that's why, as a person who's leading the TUC, it's important that we do lead a discussion about how, how the two can agree on how productivity from workers are measured, such that workers can go and demand for right remuneration and not to leave it to, the discussion about whether government will agree to give us what we are asking for in terms of base pay rise.
Yes, I agree with you. But like I said, you see, this subject matter that you are bringing, it's not something that you have not talked about it before. I remember some 15, 20 years ago, this whole issue about productivity issue came up, where we were sent to several hotels, several meetings to discuss about productivity. Meanwhile, as of today, nobody can give us the proper definition for productivity. If you ask an employer what is productivity, he will give you his own interpretation about productivity. If you ask a worker about productivity, the worker will also give his own interpretation. When you ask about the government, how do we measure productivity? That's why I'm saying that let's find time, let's talk to the experts, let's discuss, so that we can all have a roadmap, we can all have a policy that will direct what we mean when we say productivity. What do you want to achieve when we say productivity? So that's why I'm saying that let's find a special time to discuss the issue about productivity. Because linking it up with the base pay, you will not have the proper impetus of what the meaning of productivity and what you want to achieve.
But the base pay has already been agreed, and we are told it's starting 1st of January, isn't it? So, as a worker, I'm expecting that my base pay will be increased by 30% when the January salary is being paid, isn't it? Is that not all there is?
That is it.
That is it, right? And you are happy with it, isn't it?
It takes effect from 1st January 2023. So it's expected that at the end of the month, workers will receive their salary for the increment of that 30%.
Yeah, and you are happy with it, right? I guess all workers are.
Happy with what?
With the 30% you got, isn't it?
No, that question I will not answer because I don't believe that if you don't believe in something, you'll be part of that something. Yes, I don't want to go there at all. Whether I'm happy or I'm not happy, please. Let's leave it there, my brother.
Okay.
The good thing is that at the end of the month, workers will receive 30% on top of their salary as the base pay for 2023. That is all what we are looking for.
Okay. All right then. So workers who think that, well, yes, we've gotten the 30%, but we also deserve more. How do we ensure that workers who think they deserve more are getting it? How do we get there?
I don't want to go there, my brother. I've said that we went to negotiations, we have come to an agreement, we have signed, and we are moving on from there. Whether somebody is happy or somebody is not happy, whether I'm happy or not happy, I want us to stop it from there, my brother.
So we know that, so if you're a worker and you're listening to us, I mean, this is what it means. This takes effect from the 1st of January. So, but you wouldn't get your COLA anymore. So you're getting a 30% increase in the base pay, but your COLA has been scrapped. So if you are not getting your computation right, just get the facts right so that you can compute it. But my colleague, Michael, who did the story, says that both parties agree, that's government and Labour, that COLA should be scrapped.
The COLA came into being in July due to the economic conditions in the country. Government and Labour agreed that to compensate workers or to cushion workers to face the economic hardship of the country, 15% COLA was awarded to workers of this country from July to 31st of December 2022. So you are all aware that in December 2022, at the end of December, the COLA was going to be scrapped. It is not something that no worker of this country knew about it, because the agreement we signed for the COLA was to end at the end of December 2022. So you're all aware that at the end of the month, the COLA was going to go. And COLA doesn't help because it does not have any effect on your pensions, it doesn't have any effect on your additions. In all salary-related issues, it doesn't have any positive effect on it. It's only cushioning. So we prefer having a better base pay than having a COLA which doesn't have any positive effect on your pension. Because once you are all working, at the end of the day, we think that in future we all go on pension, and that is where the importance of pensions will meet us at our faces. So that is it.
We appreciate your time here this morning, Joshua Ansah.
I appreciate you, my brother.
All right. Joshua Ansah is Deputy Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress. Let's go back to the President of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Clearly, we've heard from the TUC, Mr. Ansah quite tight-lipped on many of the questions that we posed to him. But let me ask, find out from you, as the President of the Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, how are you, in your own small way, trying to encourage productivity amongst your members? We understand and appreciate that, yes, you will need a lot of things which must be provided by your employer, which is government. But we also know that there are some nurses and midwives, and I'm not singling them out, it's because you are president of that association. So there are some nurses and midwives who do not even employ best practices with what is even available to them at the moment. So while you wait for government to provide the amenities and the equipment and the support systems that you need to be productive, what are you also doing to ensure that at least with what you have, your workers or your members give of their best?
So based on what I explained to you earlier, it had no relation to the fact that we are not being productive. We have been very, very productive as nurses and midwives, even amidst the challenges. So we don't only work in the clinical setting. We have those who teach in the training schools, in the universities. We have those who are in management positions, administrative positions, and all of that. Everybody is working. Everybody is working. And when you take the various health agencies, I think the most important thing they look at is the targets they've set for themselves, how that can be achieved within a certain period. So whether they are doing mid-year review or they are doing the end of the year, they want to see that something like maternal and infant deaths have come down. They want to see that they have audited deaths that have occurred in various institutions and seeing that everything has gone on the way it has to be before that person dies and all of that. We are working. And like Joshua said, it is important that we don't delve too much into the issue of productivity. Workers are working. And indeed, we deserve a living wage, a wage that will be enough to take care of our needs and at the same time be able to save for our socioeconomic development. So whatever salary that we are anticipating in the future should be a living wage, a wage that is more comforting to allow us to live beyond inflation and all of that. So we need to take our time with this. The last conference we had even in Kwo, this productivity came up, we discussed. At the end of the day, we said, look, everybody needs to be productive. And it's not just public sector workers, public officials, everybody, even government officials, everybody needs to be productive. Everybody needs to be productive for us to carry on Ghana. And when you look at the total population of public sector workers, almost 700,000, working in various sectors, we are carrying the country in terms of whatever it is that we are doing. When you look on our payslips, what do you see? We contribute a high percentage to the National Health Insurance Scheme. Our salaries, whatever it is we receive, the huge income tax that is also applied, and all of that. So we are indirectly helping in various ways, despite the meager salaries that we are receiving. And that is what is informing the migration of nurses and midwives abroad, not only nurses, doctors, and other professionals. So let's find time and really delve into the issue of productivity and look at how it will help all of us. And let's not only look at public sector workers. Let's look at government officials and everybody in there.
You say you deserve a living wage. Is that to suggest that what you even have now?
Come again.
You say in the future you deserve a living wage. Is that to suggest that what you have now doesn't qualify to be referred to as that?
No. It doesn't qualify to be a living wage. It doesn't anyway. If we have to sit down and break everything down, you realize that you are nowhere near that. When you have take essentials and look at the inflation of those essential goods and services, then you realize that what you are taking, just suppose it's against the school fees you are paying and all of that for your children and your other dependents, fueling of your car up and down and all of that, you realize that everything goes away. But we have gone through a very difficult negotiation. And as of yesterday, the Minister of Finance, his presence helped for us to conclude this negotiation in the sense that it is what was very likely we would have adjourned the meeting so that the government team would have gone to receive a mandate on whatever it is that we were demanding as of yesterday and in the position that we were. But of course, his presence and the caucus between they themselves helped us to reach that agreement of the 30%. And like we have said, organized labor has done so well. This is a very unprecedented base pay negotiation. We started in November, several meetings down the line, and it took us only yesterday to complete so that the Controller and Accountant General's Department can also input the percentage for us this January, so that at the end of the month we can receive our salaries. But what is critical, which Joshua mentioned, is the fact that it is the impact it will have on our pensions and other monuments and things that is beneficial to us, especially the bit about the pensions. If you receive COLA, you can receive COLA 50%. It is money that is given to you and you will be spending it. But it does not help you to contribute to your pensions. We are working now and have the strength to work, but we should be planning for our pensions. And the fact that you get there, you are weak, there's not much that you can do. Everything that you receive now should allow you to also contribute to that.
Finally, ma'am, you say the presence of the finance minister helped in concluding that meeting or negotiation yesterday. What exactly did he say when he came? And what was his main role?
Oh, I don't think that whatever he said, but I told you earlier that from the very beginning of the negotiations, of course, it is the responsibility of the government to let us understand where we are with the economy, blah, 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 blah. All these things are not new. For every negotiation, it comes up. Government team will want you to understand where we are in terms of the economy, what the budget is, and all of that, so that you understand, and they'll plead with you. But we also understand that we are representing workers. Workers, some of them, when you take the single spine, are at the very base. So whatever they are receiving is very minimal, and at the end of the day, even contribution to pensions is very small. So with all that in mind, and considering the fact that we are living in a country where inflation is hovering about 50%, and all of that, even when you take the essentials, some can be even over 100%. Yeah, it meant that we needed to represent our people well, knowing and taking into consideration.
I just want to find out
exactly what we did.
Yeah, I just want to find out exactly what he did. Was it merely his presence, or did he come with a certain agenda to explain exactly what was happening? What exactly did he come to do, and how did his presence there help in ending the negotiation yesterday?
I said it, that if he wasn't there, what it would have meant was that we would have possibly adjourned the meeting while the government team would have gone to seek Monday, and then we meet another time. But he being there meant that they could put their heads together and look at whatever needs to give in the budget and all of that, and then meet us that halfway that we wanted. And at the end of the day, that happened. So right. I think in the earlier opportunity you gave me, I mentioned that it took the government team to also caucus between themselves. That caucus included the Minister of Finance. And at the end of the day, we arrived at where we wanted to be, and that was the 30%. And I think the nitty-gritties of what anybody said is not really necessary. So many things are said behind closed doors, but we don't come out to say these things. But at the end of the day, this is what we achieved. And we as leaders are comfortable with having been able to at least achieve that 50% mark, considering the hula balloon that came with the 4.7% that was achieved in the past. So that is the most important thing.
Right. We appreciate your time this morning, Perpetual Ofori Ampofo is president of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association there. Earlier you heard from Mr. Ansah, who is with the Trades Union Congress. We're having a discussion on the base pay, which has now been increased to 30%. If you're working, you're listening to us, let us know what you make of all these later when we get interactive with you on the show.